Hey all, and welcome to a new year of Hellfire commentaries. I'm Entom64, the head commentator of the group, and we're going to kick off 2016 with a playthrough of a game that we actually streamed a number of years ago, but never really got a chance to finish. This is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Seeing as this is a celebration of Spidey and features 4 different versions of the character, I thought it would be appropriate to have 4 commentators for this one, well, including myself, of course. Joining me from HFC are THD and X-Gamer Richie.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
And from Brain Scratch Comms, we have Lewis. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Glad to be here. Am I the black suit Spider-Man in this group?
Well, I was going to wait a little bit, and then we'd kind of like pass through the choices and decide who's who. But before we get that far, I should probably describe what type of game Shatty Dims is. That's, you know, Shattered Dimensions shortened. I think Yahtzee came up with that, but I'm quibbling now. Shatty Dims. Your typical action kind of game, really. There's 4 different Spider-Men, each of them has their own gameplay style, and the levels play out a number of set pieces before you eventually reach a boss and get a MacGuffin. It's pretty simple stuff. Stan Lee is amazing. His cameo in this game is just basically the narrator, really.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought we would have glossed over the gratuitous Stan Lee narration.
Already you're getting my goat.
How would you eat a mint through that fishbowl?
I actually didn't know that was Stan Lee until just now, so I learned something new today.
Well, you come on a HellfireComms playthrough, you learn all the things, mate. That's obviously Neil Patrick Harris as amazing Spidey over there, and you'll like this one, Helldragon. That's David Kay as Mysterio.
Yeah, I knew that, but still, yeah.
But yeah, that's one of his first lines as well.
Here's my question. Why did Mysterio think that would work?
It's a better question. Why in the movie game, Spider-Man 2, does Mysterio, with his helmet off, look like Dr. Insano?
Yeah, that's so weird. I never got that.
I love that. He has so many health bars and you beat him in one punch. Probably wasn't the best move, Peter, I'm gonna be honest.
So yeah, the story for this game is very simple as we're, setting it up here. They broke a thing. This thing is really important. Better get all of the thing.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, the story and structure in this game could have been used in a Sega Genesis game, but, it's nice that they used it here. The CG opening stuff kind of looks a little bit on the cheap side, but I'm not going to complain because this dialogue is so terrible, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's comic book schlock, really. That's Suzanne Blakesley as Madam Webb. You may know her, again, Helldragon, as...
What was her name? Maleficent.
Yes.
In Kingdom Hearts. She's in a lot of shit, really. You need, like, an evil person who's female. There you go. She was Adria in Diablo 3, which I remember replaying recently, and she turned out to be evil. There you go.
Peter Porker. They actually brought him back in the recent big Spider-Verse crossover. It's awesome.
I didn't really mind Spider-Verse. There was a whole lot of jobbing, though. Obviously, they had to make the Reapers, or whatever the fuck they were called, a threat.
I will go on a lengthy diatribe later about why that's bullshit, but I do want to say now, I've never played this game, but I've always liked how this game is kind of a huge, it's a huge celebration of all the various Spider-Men throughout media. Like, we have the multi-dimensional kind of thing, you have the 3 other Spider-Men from different things helping you. I think that's a really cool idea, just as a whole.
Well, definitely. I mean, also the fact that there is so much fan service, the fact that they got loads of people who had previously played Spider-Man in some of the cartoons to voice the different Spider-Man. You've got other people come back from the cartoons, and then you've got all the various costumes that you can unlock, all the villains that you'll go on to meet, and it's just generally just, yay, Spider-Man!
Unfortunately, for fans of Spider-Man 2 or the likes of Ultimate Spider-Man on the GameCube and such, this is going to be a linear stage-to-stage game rather than an open-world game, which was a game-breaker for some people. Not for me personally, though. This was a pretty damn fun game while I was playing it. It's just... It knows how to do its thing, and it's focused, and I appreciate that.
I would say its worst quality is that it gets a bit repetitive, like, from Act 2 onwards, and it's also a tiny bit janky, because I'm not really sure of what Beanox, the developer, were doing before Shatty Dims, but they weren't really very famous, per se. They're like an Activision subsidiary, I believe, and last time I checked, they're working on Skylanders stuff now.
Yes, so they began with a game called Pillars of Garandal, then they made 2 movie tie-ins, so B-movie game,
Whoa, look
Monsters
at that.
vs. Aliens.
Yeah.
They are now working on Skylanders. They have done quite a few ports, so Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, mostly to kind of PC. And then most recently, along with Skylanders Superchargers, and they also did the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 Downwards port, which is just,
Sorry, had a little bit of a fangasm back there. For me, Ultimate was my Spidey. Like, I grew up with the 90s cartoon and the MTV series, and so on and so forth. But the first comics I really started collecting, for lack of a better word, were the Ultimate comics. And it's just such a treat to have Josh Keaton from Spectacular Spider-Man come back and voice this guy. I think he pretty much fits the role perfectly as a more energetic kind of Peter Parker, because he is the youngest out of the Spider-Men in the game, so I think it fits perfectly.
I don't have a lot of Spider-Man experience, I have to admit. I mean, I grew up with the 90s cartoon as well. That's the one I primarily know. A lot of side stuff, I don't read a lot of the comics. I mostly just bitch about them on 4chan like everyone else does.
Yeah.
But, I've heard good things about Ultimate, the other ones that we'll be seeing in a bit. I don't know why I'm hiding it, because this game is so old, you guys already know what's going to happen. But, like I said, it's just kind of nice to have that little a corollary back there. I did, read one issue of Peter Porker, the Amazing Spider-Ham, once, and that was it.
It's the Amazing Spider-Ham. It cracks me up every time.
I read that myself as well. My aunt had it, in her basement on the comic rack that one of her sons or something owned.
Don't worry if you feel like we're skipping over trivia about the Spider-Man and such. These tutorial sections are just, they're designed to get you, up to speed really fast, so there's honestly not much time to cover everything. But I think we can just squeal about the voice acting and whatnot. This is Spider-Man 2099, the only character in the game, well, playable, who is not a Peter Parker kind of guy. This is Miguel O'Hara, and he's voiced by Dan Gilvezan.
The same guy who did Bumblebee in the original 80s G1 Transformers cartoon. And I have to say, considering the kind of guy Miguel actually is in the comics, Dan is not the best choice. The reason they got him was because he played Amazing Spider-Man in the 60s show, and I believe also Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. No, that was a different person. But he was a Spider-Man at one point. In the sequel, Edge of Time, he's played instead by another Spider-Man voice actor we'll see later on. I think it was a better fit there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember thinking when I heard this guy's voice that he sounded distinctly 60s. I guess I know why now.
Well, you're not wrong.
But this Spider-Man, is the only one that we're going to be able to play as, apart from the Amazing Spider-Man in the next game. That game.
Yeah, I don't really want to, pile on Edge of Time, mostly because I haven't played it, because it didn't look all that interesting, but it just seemed like a cut-down Shatty Dims, and I apologise if that starts to get old, it's just a lot quicker than saying Shattered Dimensions, but it just looked a tad drab, and not really all that fun.
Well, I mean, the fact that you are ultimately removing half the game, it does kind of just go, well, you clearly didn't have much of a budget.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard to save, the gameplay discussions for, their first actual parts, but in a nutshell, 2099 is speed. He's all about speed. He can attack fast, he can use his spider sense to kind of, slow down time, and, stuff of that nature.
Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that 2099 is the most action-oriented of the four. With the most emphasis on pure combat, and then there's the skydiving stuff for some reason. Yeah,
most emphasis on combat. There's certain sections in, some of his later levels that left my wrists ringing. There were so many enemies.
I love how, Madam Web is here to basically justify a ton of the gameplay, choices in this game. Even when you fling him off the edge, she's like, no, I teleported him away, it's perfectly fine, do it a ton of times if you want, it's cool.
That's cool, Miguel, I got this.
Well, I mean, it's one way to get around the whole thing of narrative dissonance. Just because it's all comic book related, it's just you can explain everything away. It's beautiful.
I turn my attention from the future.
Now, of course, Spider-Man number 4 is SpiderMan War, who I didn't know existed until this game, so...
Yeah, I imagine he's not really in the pop culture, beyond appearing in Shatty Dimmers, but I've read, the Spider-Verse tie-in, or at least like an issue featuring Spider-Man Noir, and I was intrigued. It's pretty nice art, you know, stuff like that.
They've taken over the station.
This choice for this fourth Spider-Man sort of came out of nowhere when the game was being first announced, but the guy is voiced by 90s cartoon Spider-Man Christopher Daniel Barnes.
Yes!
So that's pretty cool, I gotta say.
My childhood!
Ah, man. Spider-Man War, of course, is the stealth version of Spider-Man.
Because Arkham Asylum exists, yeah.
I was gonna say, somebody sure liked Arkham Asylum.
No joke. Won't last long if they open up on me.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's
It is imperative.
pretty much it. You swing around above everything and stealth take them out. And basically, if they see you, you get riddled full of holes, and you have to try again.
It makes sense, because Noir is very gritty, obviously, as is, the nature of the comic. That Spider-Man, I believe, is actually kind of weaker than the other Spider-Man. Like, he has similar powers, but I don't think he's as strong, or something like that. I'm trying to remember the exact specifics. I haven't read it, of course, because that's work. But here, Madam Web goes, oh, well, now you have fucking magic, you can see glowy shit powers, so do what I say.
Also, I don't think he had web shooters in the comics, that's why he talks about them here.
Yeah, his web shooters, I think, they're not organic, but they're very, very kind of messy. So here, they're just more like, streamlined.
Oh, of course, got frickin' detective mode. I could write a book about how many problems there are with every game on the planet copying detective mode type things, but...
Well, if I could do the foreword for that, it would be that detective mode always used to freeze my hoppage. I don't really know what was going on there.
Yeah, it's just a little too many games with special view modes like this now.
Yeah.
It kind of takes away from... well, it took away from the game in a way in Arkham Asylum itself, too, because you always had the damn thing on and couldn't really stop to examine stuff with your own eyes.
I mean, there's really no reason to walk around with it off, so you may as well keep it on. But when you keep it on, you see the world through Technicolor, and that's pretty for a little bit, gets repetitive after a while.
I have to admit, the Noir sections are the reason why I have not played this game. I am notoriously bad and awful at stealth. Like, it throws me off so much. I ain't good at it. I've done a little bit of Arkham Asylum, and then I got to the mission where it's like, oh, well, you have to find Gordon without being seen by anybody. I'm like, well, that was a fun game.
That's the Harley set piece, I believe.
Yeah, and then I'm playing Uncharted 2, oh, well, we get to shoot a bunch of guys. Let's take these guys out silently. No, I'm not here to do that, thanks.
And that's the end of that.
Although I appreciate games like Uncharted 2 that give you a choice in a lot of cases between stealth and action.
Many dimensions, these four fearless Spider-Men.
That was Spider-Man War. Lots of sneaking around behind people.
Weirdly, he has the only context-sensitive kind of tutorial out of all of them. Like, you have going up a wall, you have swinging, you have fighting, which is something all four can do, but when you get to Noir, it's like, oh shit, we've got to introduce something new now.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do a linear stealth section and make it actually good.
Those with evil hearts will be drawn to the unleashed power of the tablet, gaining new and frightening powers. So far, you have...
Before this part ends, remind me what Madam Web's deal is?
It's complicated.
She's psychic. I believe she's connected to the web of life or the web of spiders, if I'm remembering Spider Island correctly.
Oh, God.
Okay. I'm just gonna nod and smile and pretend that makes sense.
You could say that for a lot about, comic kind of story tropes, but we get through it, we enjoy it, we buy more, they do more.
Power feels like no more parlor tricks and sleight of hand. Mysterio is now the master of real magic.
Oh, good. You've turned into Zatanna. That's great. Have fun.
Well, guys, that's the tutorial out of the way. Join us next time when we start Shutty Dims properly. Bye for now.